This week, we're breaking down The Mandalorian Season 1, right here on the High Ground Podcast. Hello, and thank you everyone for joining me here on the High Ground Podcast. I'm stoked because we are doing the Mandalorian episode right now. I mean, it's currently October 14th, but now that I've staggered it out a week, this will be coming out right before the new season. So we're going to be building some hype. And yeah, I'm excited. I spoke to you a little bit about you being excited for it, Matt, as well. But more Star Wars is always good, right? But yeah, why don't we go ahead and jump into it? I want to go around, talk to everyone, find out who are you? How did you get started with and how did you get started with Star Wars? I'll go to Matt first.
Alrighty. Well, hello everybody. My name is Matt Mellish. I am currently on TikTok, and I started there making a lot of Lego and Star Wars content, and I think that's kind of where you found me, right? Mm-hmm. And then I started doing a little bit of YouTube stuff, but really I've just always loved Star Wars so much. But ironically, back in the very, very beginning, if you want to know how I really got into it, I hated Star Wars.
Okay.
As a kid, when I was like 8 years old, I was the nerd, but not necessarily into Star Wars yet. And I was just kind of always an outcast on the middle school playground, honestly. Got bullied a lot because I went to a very private middle school, right? So just people said mean things as kids, right? I think we can somehow relate to that.
Nah.
But then, I watched these kids in the playground play Star Wars, right? And I'm like, I don't know anything about Star Wars. I've never seen Star Wars. And they're like, well, you can be R2-D2. And I'm like, what can R2-D2 do? And they're like, well, basically nothing. He can't have a lightsaber or anything. And then I'm like, okay, well, wow, thanks for letting me into your little group here. But I linked Star Wars with those kids, right? And that became a problem. And we see it happening today now, I think, to an extent. But mom, yeah, my mom was actually the one who was like, Matthew, you can't complain about something that you've never seen before. You can't just hate something that you don't know. I'm like, okay. So we sat down and she showed me the movies, and I'm like, this is awesome. I watched episode 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3. Episode 3 had just came out at the time as well, so it was the perfect time to get into it. I didn't see it in the theater, but it was one of those things that I still really enjoyed. And ironically, when I started liking Star Wars, that was when everybody else stopped liking Star Wars. It just happens how it happens with me, I guess, sometimes. But yeah, ever since then, I was always a Star Wars nerd, and I will accept that badge of courage honorably. It's why I love making TikTok content and YouTube videos today. So yeah.
By the way, the Lego Octo. I don't know if you guys have seen his Lego Octo. It's incredible. It's just so cool.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Big fan of your content.
Back at you, dude. Back at you.
And then I have Jose Island Joe, the man with the hypest versus content. Like, just you speaking, I'm just like, I don't even know who this is, but I'm picking a side, man. Like,
thank you.
But yeah. How'd you who are you and how'd you get started with Star Wars?
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Jose, otherwise known as Island Joe. I think we met through TikTok mostly, but I'm making an expansion into Twitch, YouTube, and other platforms because TikTok is way too much fun. But I have so many ideas that I can't be contained into one. Into one platform. I mostly started making videos about drawing, about art. I was trying to basically develop a set of skills in order to transition into this phase where I was making content. I could design my own logos and stuff like that. And it just kind of grew into talking about things that I love. And one of the many things that I love is Star Wars. I made some very controversial videos based on the rankings of the movies, ranking my favorite Jedi and Sith. It's a very controversial picks on that one, but I stand by them. And you know what? I've like met so many amazing people through this platform, just like you, Choco, and now Matt and Sawyer. I saw you guys. I've seen you guys on TikTok as well, and I'm super excited to have this conversation about the Mandalorian because I also love that.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, as I mentioned, my favorite future Doctor, we have Sawyer here. Yeah. Who are you? How'd you get started with Star Wars?
So hi, my name is Sawyer Markham. I hope I'll be a future doctor. I'm a junior in university, and I'm very busy with pre-med stuff. But when I'm not doing that, I am an avid fan of Star Wars. I'm on TikTok mostly. I'd love to branch out into other things, but I really don't have time right now. But I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan. I think my earliest memory was when I was 5. I broke my arm right before my birthday, and we were going to have a pool party, but we couldn't do that anymore. So we like quickly threw together this Star Wars thing, and I remember that we had like Wookiee cookies and like all kinds of Yoda soda and all this other kind of weird stuff. So I've always kind of, I was always a tomboy growing up, and so that was kind of my introduction. But it wasn't really until the new films came out that I kind of revisited that love for this series, and just after The Force Awakens, like I really resonated with that film, and I thought it was so cool to be growing up at a time where we could have new Star Wars. And when I was a kid, Padme was always my favorite character, and I never understood why there was so much hate about the prequels, but I was just so lovely to get back into this universe. And shortly after that, I joined the Rebel Legion. I remember as Rey, I cosplay Rey, and over the summer, I started making TikToks, and I had no idea the amount of incredible people that I would meet. And yeah, I just am inspired every single day to make more content and share and grow my love for Star Wars. So, yeah.
Awesome. I love it. And then shared my story 1,000 times, but yeah, I grew up watching Empire Strikes Back over and over and over and over and over again, and that was my introduction. When the prequels came out, I actually did get pushed out of the fandom because they really resonated with me. I was the perfect age for them. They were made for me, so of course I'm going to resonate with them. They were my favorite. Everyone hated them. People, and I got ridiculed for liking them. I had a weird, slightly inverse situation as Matt. You know what I mean? And I should when I was little, before the prequels came out, we'd play Star Wars, and they would tell me I could be Lando or Chewbacca.
Okay.
And I always wanted to be Luke. I'm like, come on, kids can be mean, but I forced them to make me be Vader, and that's why I've always had a tendency towards bad characters like Vader, and Doctor Doom is my favorite Marvel character of all time. So, yeah. All right. So, quick lightning round. Who's your favorite character on The Mandalorian? We got. I left in the notes all the people's names. If hopefully you can remember who each of them are. But Jose, I'm coming to you first.
Oh, so I was floating around this question, and I was gonna go for the child just because of the nuance that they tried to bring with the Force, but I'm gonna go with Kara. Like bringing a shock trooper with this much humanity. I haven't seen that since like the Clone Wars. So somebody that stood out to me was her, and I didn't expect her to be my favorite character, but I was like, this girl rocks. Like she's amazing.
Yeah. The scene where she's fighting the dude and they have the tether thing.
Yeah.
I've never even considered that, but that was such a badass scene.
She went full John Wick. Went full John Wick in that scene.
And she's a girl, and when she punches, you're not getting up. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, for sure.
There's such a physical quality to it, really. You're so right, and that is who she is, kind of like as just a person in general with her fighting career.
I'm not a little guy, and I know how to hold my own. But if she's mad, I'm hiding. You know what I mean? Like stuck in cover. Sorry, who's your favorite?
So I decided that I kind of have two answers to this. I think the obvious answer would be Baby Yoda, obviously.
Love the shirt, by the way.
Thank you. He's so cute, and just we never even really considered, except for Yaddle. Like, okay, what is this species like? What about them makes them so powerful in the Force? Like, there's so much we don't know. Hopefully, that will be explored more in this next season. But and he is so cute. I love him. But in addition to that, I also really like Quill. I think I just really liked his wisdom and his story, what we got of it, and it was very sad to see him go at the end of the season. But I really like his character as well.
Yeah, great choice. Because I feel of all of the characters, we really have the most history and understanding of the person of Quill specifically, and there's no character development you can do with a baby, not really. And Matt, your favorite character?
Although, like you guys, I do enjoy Baby Yoda. I like how we're all wearing Yoda / Baby Yoda shirts, except for you, Darth Child. It's all good, man. It's all good.
I got the backpack. He's chilling.
Oh, that's awesome.
A dope backpack.
I got the cardboard cutout in the back. But actually, I would, if I had to go with my favorite character would probably be Din, the Mandalorian. I think, I'm a sucker for my hero characters. Luke Skywalker was my favorite hero character of Star Wars, just because I can relate to him. And I think that Din, he's not Superman. He is very good with his blaster. He's a very good fighter, but he gets hurt. And I love the human quality to the character, It takes a while for him to be able to get on and ride a blurg. It takes some guts for him to be able to get to the top of a sandcrawler and actually just fall off because the Jawas overpower him. Like, yes, he's very strong, but he's not too overpowered. And I really like that about the character, and he definitely has a clear arc as well.
Yeah. No, that's true. For actually, you mentioned the sandcrawler thing. It reminds me of, I think my favorite scene of him is when the sand, not sand people, but the Jawas start talking back, and he actually pulls out the flamethrower and just starts.
That negotiation went so poorly. And then they're riding to the egg, and they're like, Suga, Suga. He's banging his head around the sandcrawler cockpit. It's hilarious. I love
it. So for me, I also love Jin. Jin, I can't pronounce it right now. I apologize. But yeah, our Mando, because he's a very layered character, right? Where we get to see he's very strong in his beliefs, super strong. Like, no, people he won't let people see him without his helmet. Even that, beautiful woman on episode 3, was it? And you're like, okay, I could nope, not doing it. And you get to see exactly the conflict of what those layers do, where he ends up choosing this child over his crush. They're on board with it, but I know it's interesting to see that and to watch this character kind of unfold. We don't know a lot about him, but it's very intriguing. And then also Moff Gideon, I just need to know more about him. You know what I mean? He's got this evil energy, and I wouldn't have said him if I had not just finished watching The Boys. Because that's him as the leader of I don't know if you guys have watched The Boys, but he's in that show. He's in season 2 of that show, and his evil intensity is palpable and beautiful, and I need more of it.
I think even just from what we've seen of him, he has this quality of knowledge and understanding that the others don't, and he's using that against them. He literally just gives the entire history of the E-Web blaster, as he says how it annihilated all of their friends before. And he does have that intimidating quality that a villain needs, for sure.
And then the fact that he whips out the Darksaber means that You don't just get it. You don't just buy it. You earn it. That means he knows what he's doing. He is
Or he
regal.
stole it. Or he stole it.
He could have stole it, but he's like he has this weird quality of being both really regal and upstanding, but he gets dirty and what I mean, he also has strangled people with his bare hands. Like you get that.
For sure. For sure.
He's like a more physical Thrawn, kind of like is the way I was looking
Yeah.
at him, weirdly enough. Except Thrawn is much more regal and standing and just a different kind of person than he is. He's more physical, at least it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's jump to the show. I want to go through the show first before we start getting to season 2 and predictions, stuff like that. And I kind of split this up into a 3-act structure because we got 8 episodes. So we actually got between episodes 1 and 3 it was kind of the first arc of the story where we get introduced to the characters, the situations, the setting, to where Mando leaves on his own. And Sora, I'm going to start with you for your what jumps out of you at the beginning when we're getting to know our new Mando.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, for me personally, the first time watching through it, the first couple of episodes, I remember going like, "Wow, this is really slow, and I'm not sure where it's going." Of course, at the end of the first episode, we find out about the child, and we obviously know that that's going to be the main arc of the series. But it took me quite a bit, just those first few episodes, to kind of feel out the characters and decide, whether or not I liked Din, or because he's like he said, he's a very complex character, and I don't think we really see like that much versatility in him until the later episodes. So, but that being said, I really did like episode 2. I really liked the entire encounter with the Jawas, and I think it was Matt who mentioned, Din's not invincible. Even he had an altercation with the Jawas, and then obviously he needed the child to help him defeat the Mudhorn, and we got to see, confirm that Baby Yoda could use the Force, and that was a really exciting episode. And then obviously in episode 3, and he goes back and he gives the child away, and then we meet the armorer for the first time. And
Armor is cool.
Yeah, she's real cool. And we see the stormtroopers, and see that there's something really shady going on. And then, of course, at the end, when he decides to go back for the child, and there's an ambush, all the Mandalorians come to help him. And we haven't really seen any large amount of Mandalorians since the Clone Wars. And when I was writing notes for this last night, I was thinking about how kind of in episode 3, we start to hear more and more like, this is the way, and the armorer talks about the code of the Mandalorians, and then again, at the end of that episode, we see all the Mandalorians come out to help Mando and the child escape. And that really emphasizes like the loyalty of the Mandalorians, and just the culture that's very valuable to them. And I think that there's like quite a stark contrast between that and the culture, the Mandalorian culture that we see in the Clone Wars. Obviously, under Satine, it was a lot more neutral and not so violent, and that was kind of the whole point of her version of Mandalore. But it's even quite different from Death Watch as well, because they're a terrorist group. But yeah, no, I think I was thinking about, okay, what other like instances have we seen a lot of the Mandalorians, and it's just the Clone Wars, and I just think it's very different. You can tell that the events of after the Clone Wars and the original trilogy have definitely had an impact on the Mandalorians as a species and as a culture, for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that they are building with this lore, and I'm super excited because, like, our canon knowledge of Mandalorians come from the arcs from the Clone Wars and from Rebels, and I mean, both of those were Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau together. Jon Favreau was the voice of
Vizsla.
Pre Vizsla, yeah. So like these are the guys that are inventing the lore. So that's why people ask me like, oh, is this a contradiction? I'm like, I doubt it. It's the same people who made it, so I doubt it. But yeah, Matt, your thoughts, like what jumps out at you on from this first arc?
In all honesty, I think the first 3 episodes combined into one arc is my favorite part of the series so far, which is weird. There's just so much that hops out at me initially from like when I first watched it, and I try to remember back to that. It just immediately feels like something different that we've never seen before. Other than Solo, live action Star Wars hasn't been as much of a Western, aside from like the original trilogy a little bit here and there. You get vibes, but never one singular story. And even Solo, a Star Wars story, goes beyond that in its own ways, and it does its own thing. But for me, it's this lone gunslinger going to, wreak havoc on a bunch of stormtroopers, and that's just awesome. It honestly does feel like a video game to me at times, so he's going on these different missions, and, the first is he has to go get this guy, this blue mithril alien creature from this bar, and then he takes him back to the planet, and then he's given another job. And what I appreciate too is as he does all these things, he like levels up his armor. So it really does feel like you're playing a video game throughout the entire series, not just in the first 3 episodes. I also really, really do appreciate all the little Easter eggs and references that we started getting. The Kubaz Garradin, it's the same Garradin character from episode 4 with the long snout who plays like this little flute to bring in the speeder. It's just hilarious and really cool to see someone else of that same race, I guess. And then we have this space walrus jump out to get the Razor Crest from the ice, and you hear the Razor Crest making the exact same noises as the Millennium Falcon makes when it can't go into hyperspace in Empire Strikes Back. So like even just the littlest, smallest cues to original Star Wars really make me happy. The reference to the holiday special, where they talk about Life Day, like, oh, I can't make it back for Life Day, I guess. And then the pulse rifle itself being the weapon of Mando's choice. Yeah, exactly. And I just love seeing those little highlights.
Nuggets,
Yes, exactly. Especially, I'm very clear. I don't hate the sequel trilogy by any means. They're just not my favorite because of some of those little things that they didn't include as much to make it feel as in the Star Wars universe, I think, as it could, which are like including other alien species. So like I love seeing the Twi'leks in Mandalorian. I love seeing the Rodians. I love seeing the Trandoshans. That just makes me excited as a Star Wars fan, I guess, because we haven't seen that in live action as much in the past few years. What I really do appreciate too is Werner Herzog's character. The client.
Oh, the client.
He's so like cool, calm, and collect. He's this older Imperial, and we don't know a lot from him. Yes, exactly.
Scary.
But he's not to the level of Moff Gideon, right? He's not like super intimidating, but he is. He feels like a failed Imperial. He feels. I wonder what made him end up under Moff Gideon's leadership at times. Yeah. And Werner Herzog does a fantastic job.
I love that Werner Herzog is just Werner Herzog. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Just like plays himself.
Yeah, which is nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know.
Let me see the baby.
I could not take him seriously. I know he's a bad guy, but when I think of his voice, I just think of the character that he played in 40, and that's all I can think about when he was on the Mandalorian.
Well, yeah, he did all those other documentaries. It's just hard to put him in a different place.
I come back to him from his 1-episode cameo at the end of Parks and Rec, where he's selling them a house and he's talking about how there was a haunted like doll factory across the street, and this is where the crazy people were kept. But it's the same exact voice, and like it's wonderful. If you haven't like check out that clip, I might just play a little clip from that right here.
I think
But-
part of it really is his voice. I think
Yeah,
it adds that
it is.
imperial vibe to it when he's on the screen. You can't take your eyes off of him. And to, in contrast to him, we have Dr. Pershing, who is one of the only few people to wear glasses in Star Wars. But he's on the side of the child. He's, that medical sense of let's save the patient. I value life more than anything. And he's put to the test. We get subtle clues as to what is going on from him with Baby Yoda, what they're using him for, because in that weird conversation where Mando's listening in on Pershing and Werner Herzog's character, Pershing's talking about extracting something, or I guess Werner Herzog mentions it, extracting something from the child. To me, I think of midi-chlorians. I wonder what you guys think of that.
Yeah, I got some theories, but we'll come back.
Yeah,
we'll come back to
that's
that.
more season 2 talk, I guess.
Yeah.
But and I love the flashback. The flashback is wonderful. Where we start to see at least where this guy came from, and it becomes a mystery throughout the first season. Intercut between the armorer hammering away, and I do love her character as well, which you mentioned, I think Sawyer. Just really cool. It feels like she has a lot of knowledge about what actually happened between when we saw the Mandalorians last in Rebels, all united under Bo-Katan with the Darksaber, and then they're in the sewers by the time at this point, which Maul actually references, and I'd be remiss of saying this because I'm a huge Clone Wars fan. Maul actually references that in the 7th season of Clone Wars when he's like, you belong up there, not in the gutters or whatever. He actually says, so it's just really cool to see them go from that perspective until now. Those connections are really cool.
Which even that was a callback to Ahsoka running through the tunnels when she was on the run. Oh my God, there's layers on layers, but this is we're not doing Clone Wars
Gold
stuff.
nuggets.
It's all Dave
Gold
Filoni.
nuggets.
Yeah.
Yes,
Gold nuggets.
exactly. And that's why I love the first few episodes, especially because I think they really do hammer away. And I really do like the comedy of the way they started approaching it, which is based on situational kind of hilarity. A good example would be when Mando and IG-11 meet for the first time, and they go back and forth, this interplay between the two, of him using the self-destruct sequence. Yeah. Yeah. It's just
Hello,
so
Mando?
well put together.
This is this. I just kept picturing him from Thor Ragnarok in. Hello, Mando. This is Korg. I'm going to self-destruct now. I apologize, but
Taika Waititi definitely brings a different layer just in general, especially when he directed his own episode, but we'll get to that later on.
By the way, that's probably my first time ever doing an accent in front of people, so hopefully it wasn't terrible.
No, you did great. That was epic. I could never even try.
New Zealand is really hard to do, so that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what's interesting about the ending of those first 3 episodes, like I said, it does feel like almost like a Clone Wars or Rebels arc. They're so tightly knit together. I can't just watch one of them. I have to watch all 3. It's just the way I approach it. But what I really appreciate about the ending is that, all the Mandalorians kind of gang up on Mando in the 3rd episode, right? He comes back with all this Beskar armor. He's working with the Imperials, the same people that really took away most of their kind. They're not really a race, it's more of a creed, which they mentioned in the show. And we can get into what a Mandalorian really means. But, the Empire is the reason they're living on the fringes. And for Mando to come back with the spoils of war is not something that the others really look fondly on. What I enjoy is that he decides to make the right call. He chooses to do the honorable thing, to save the child, to go back. And really, I think that being a Mandalorian, and you see this throughout the show, is doing the honorable thing, doing what's right. And the others respect him for making that decision. it costs them dearly, which we find out later, but they go and they save him in this epic display with all the jetpacks. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that on first watch, and it felt like a Clone Wars episode to me, seeing the Mandalorians, especially in live action. I never thought we would see that. It was epic. But yeah.
And then Jose, what jumps out at you on this first little arc we had?
For me, it's a mix. So it's a mix of artistic decisions that the producers made, and then the lore. I'm a big lore junkie, so like I'm big on Assassin's Creed, Uncharted. So everything that adds to the lore in a nuanced way that's not just exposition, like gets my gears going. Like I love it, and so I love the fact that the Mando doesn't have everything figured out. Like he's literally trying to prove himself. And I know Matt mentioned this with the Beskar, and like he literally shows up with the like once he has the full upgrade with the Beskar being like, yeah, I am a Mandalorian. Like I'm not just a rescue that's like climbing up the ranks. Like I'm a full-on Mandalorian, and you have to like respect me. I also loved his interactions with the characters and the way that they were able to portray so much emotion without even seeing his face, like Pascal's face. Like you literally can feel the way he touched the Beskar when he first met with the client. Like you could tell, it's like, oh wow, like this is like my ticket in. And so it obviously transitions more when he meets the child and he has that parent-child like imprinting and that connection going on. But for me, it was more of like they took such a different approach as to all the other ways Star Wars has been told. Because George had a very specific way of storytelling. Then you had like after obviously like the huge success and after like decades of not doing anything, the prequels did something like different, and then you had the like right in the middle, like before the sequels, and like it just felt like a breath of fresh air in terms of storytelling. And I loved that the hero completely changes every like in if we divide it into like a 3-act structure, like the first 3 episodes, 3 and then the final 2, it's a completely different character in each one. And I haven't seen that in a while in a major franchise like this, especially not one with so much hype and so much like to lose in terms of execution. I love how they were able to execute and still get me hyped up for the second season, even though there's been like such controversy with the sequel trilogy. Like I love the fact that I'm so excited to turn on the TV or when the second season 2 hits.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, my dog was getting agitated, so I had to calm her down a little bit. No, I agree with that 100-fold. It's actually one of the things that I'm loving about Star Wars in general right now is because they've made it clear that like the sequel trilogy the prequel trilogy was made for the kids of that time, right? And the sequel trilogy is the exact same way. Although it is not my favorite trilogy, there's a lot of stuff I love from it. But what we get now that we've never gotten before is simultaneously they're making content for this new generation. We got more Clone Wars. We're getting Bad Batch for the Clone Wars fans, and we're getting Mandalorian, which is aimed directly at original trilogy fans. We're getting a push of all of this stuff for everyone at the same time, and that I don't know. That just like makes me hype. You know what I mean?
Surreal.
I agree completely. And to have the first live action Star Wars series, talk about scary for like a company perspective. There's a lot of expectation going into that, but they did it superbly.
Yeah. I mean, but they've never that's one of the things I have always appreciated about Lucasfilm in general is they've never held back. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff may look dated now, but like the technology, their process and procedures are all bleeding edge for whenever that thing comes out. Like when The Force Unleashed came out, there was no mocap like that in existence. You know, I mean, when they shot Lord of the Rings, they talked to Sam Witwer to ask him, how do you do mocap so well with motion? He had to teach them because it didn't exist. You know what I mean? And we're getting that same thing here with their sets and their new technology, and it's just awesome.
In
Yeah, and
the documentary like is beautiful
The
at
volume.
explaining
Oh my
that.
goodness.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, God, sorry, I don't even want to go too far into that right now. But
Very good.
with the
Sorry,
with
I
the
brought it up.
first, no, you just set my mind like down this like rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, with these first three acts, I mean, the thing that really jumps out at me is the second episode, which wasn't my favorite, but having him deal with the Jawas and seeing the scale of the crawler and how freaking huge it was, and then just how irritated he was this whole it reminded me of episode 2 where Obi-Wan's on this mission and he has no idea what's going on, like that. That's how he was this whole mission of like, all right, I'm trying to find this thing, oh crap, I have to fight that, and then he ends up with nothing but a knife and he's like, all right, like let's do this, I guess.
All for an
um
egg.
yeah.
The
For them to
egg.
eat.
A disgusting hairy egg.
They just wanted some brunch. They just wanted some brunch. Like,
Hey, I mean, it's they probably don't eat well on a regular basis, and I'm sure, you know what I mean. Like if that was like chicken and waffles, I don't know. I'd be I'd be in a similar boat. But yeah, let's go and jump to the second act. And so this is like their random adventures, right? They're traveling through space, father and son or whatever, non-binary pal.
Foundling. I don't.
But yeah, I'm curious what jumps out at you guys, and if you guys have like what one or two things that pop out, let me know. And that's why I'll start with Matt.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, although they do seem a bit disconnected from what the first 3 episodes were and what the last 2 are, as that beginning and ending, what I really enjoy about the middle act itself is that Mando is learning to trust people or to not trust people. So he in the third episode of this second arc, I guess it's what, the 6th episode, the prison episode.
yeah.
He's learning, he can't trust this crew, right? And it's obvious from the beginning. So he has a lot of trust issues. He learns that he can trust Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, and the middle episode on Tatooine, he can't trust this Toro dude who's just kind of a Han Solo wannabe from Corellia going after the hardest bounty hunter that he can get. And, it's really cool to see that progression, which we were talking about from the character, learning that he's not just a lone gunslinger, that he himself can have his own crew, which we get in the third act finally. And he needs them in order to succeed. He can't do this all on his own. And he's, even with the trauma of the droid thing, his hatred for droids because of a clearly traumatic experience from his past, and constant disappointment from droids, he learns in the end that he can trust them. And that's more in the third act, but it's this constant theme of trust that I'm seeing, really. I thought it was amazing to get back to Tatooine. I loved the familiarity, although at times I will admit, just subtly critique, it did feel like a bit of a fanfic at times. It felt like fan service, just a slight bit. The way they did the Tusken Raiders was a little over the top for my taste. I think that a lot of the acting itself is also very campy, which is very Star Wars, right? But it's a double-edged sword. It can either take me way out of it or keep me in it, because they have the characters like Bill Burr, Amy Sedaris, Clancy Brown, amazing characters, but at times it does take me out of it just the slightest.
Yeah. Also, Megan Meigs in the chat pointed out that along with what you were saying with that trust, it also includes the ability to trust droids, which is definitely not in his nature, considering for good reasons. You know what I mean? If you're a little kid and that B2 battle droid is, that's not a happy sight.
Crazy.
But
I like how that also, when he goes to the cantina, the droids are then running the cantina. Which, if you read from a certain point of view, this is really getting into the rabbit hole of everything. But Wooer, the bartender, the reason that he doesn't like droids is because he suffered a similar instance with droids, and that fear of the separatists really did take its toll on youngsters at the time.
Yeah, and whew, we got stuff to talk. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that book, but there were some really solid nuggets there, especially with the Force. Jose, we got the second act, right? Travels around the galaxy with Space Dad. What jumps out at you?
For me, the first thing obviously was Kara in the planet that we meet her for the first time. Just the way that she was portrayed as not being just a tag along character. Like she can definitely carry the team like by herself. It was just a breath of fresh air. Obviously, it delves a little bit more into like the what Matt mentioned. It's like trusting people. Like, do I trust this person completely? Like, she did work for the Empire, even though she's like a defected shock trooper. Like she was part of the machine that led my culture to be like destroyed. So the way that interaction was made very clear and nuanced from the start was amazing. In Tatooine, like for some reason, I really loved that the episode with Toro the gunslinger, because like I could clearly see that this was just like everything Han Solo is meant to not be. Like he's the complete opposite of what Han Solo should be. Like he is literally
he could be.
Yeah, very true, very true.
But like
terrible. If he was terrible at his job, like you're a rookie bounty hunter and you're going off like to the most wanted bounty in the galaxy. Like, come on, man. Like, it was set up super well, and the fact that you see him betray somebody, like as soon as they give you the information, he's like, damn, this is what Han like could have been, but he's a changed person. But like moving back into this. I really liked how it all came down to that space prison, because if I'm not mistaken, I think this was the crew that Mando was running with before everything happened. So he knows these people. So he knows exactly how they'll act, the way they think, and the fact that he knows from the beginning, oh, I definitely should not trust these people because they will rat me out, or they will like take the bounty as soon as they like see me slip a little bit, was very well played out. And I do agree on the campiness of the acting, but I also thought that bringing somebody like Bill Burr that has such a presence and can like bring levity to the situation in such a way that like it also makes it like fun and playful, even though you know that like it's meant to be basically a chase scene. And then obviously, at least for me, the moment where I was like, yo, the Mandalorian is getting to that elite level is that scene where like the lights are going up and down, like turning on and off, where you literally see like, this is a horror movie. This is like Jaws. Like he's slowly getting toward his prey. And I was like, perfectly executed. I have very little complaints about this series in general, but I do want to stress the importance of character development and nuance, and the fact that they did this so well in such a limited time frame with so many characters. Like you could literally point out a lot of personality traits out of each of the main characters. You can point them out, like who they are and who do you think they'll be, in just 8 episodes. So masterful performance in terms of like directing, story arc, and like intertwining everything.
Yeah. It's especially that, I mean, I will say, and it's not because of his performance at all. He did a fantastic job, but just seeing Bill Burr there was rough for me. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm expecting his voice. I'm expecting him to like start complaining about like women or whatever. Like,
well, you know, my wife said the other day.
Yeah, like it was weird. It was. I mean, I love Bill Burr, and he actually did a great job. And also, I loved his little shoulder gun thing. That thing was dope.
Full on Predator. I loved it.
Right? But Sawyer, your thoughts on that second act?
Well, I really appreciate what both Jose and Matt have said. Thank you for bringing the word campy into the conversation, because I kind of had the same experience, like with a couple of the characters being like, something just isn't sitting right with me, and I think that's the perfect word to describe it. And you're right, that does exist a lot in different Star Wars medias, but yeah, no, I definitely had that same experience with these episodes, and the fact that some scenes with different like one-off characters were making me go, not really feeling the story. But of course, I mean, really, that I really enjoyed all 3 episodes for the most part, and the one-off stories that they were able to create within this overarching series. And along with the theme of trust, I know we've already said that there's not a whole lot of character development that a baby can have, but at the same time, I also think we do see Baby Yoda or the child learn trust as well, and learn, because not only trust with Mando, but he's learning. Okay, let's not choke this person because she's here to help us. And but then in contrast, he learns to recognize that the people in the prison episode are bad news. And so I think that to some extent, the child also goes on that journey a little bit as well. And in turn, that helps develop his relationship with Mando himself, which is really interesting. In terms of trying to think, like, I think my favorite of these 3 episodes was episode 4, with the where the AT-ST comes out in the battle in the village, and that one scene where he had the opportunity to get with that beautiful woman, but decided, nope, gotta stick to the code. Both episode 5 and 6, there were a couple scenes there that I was just really not feeling. Specifically in episode 5 with what's his name, Toro. I really liked a comparison of him being like everything Han Solo should not be. Because man, I just from the minute he was like, I'm gonna be a bounty hunter and it's gonna be great, and I was like, no. But I really
simmer down.
honestly.
No.
But I would have liked to see more of Fennec, because Ming-Na Wen is an incredible actress, and I think that she could have, like, I just would like to know more about why she was such a formidable bounty hunter, and just what more of her story was. I think that would have been really interesting to see more of that, instead of having her life taken so shortly by someone who did not deserve that kind of a kill, in my humble opinion. But yeah, I don't know.
But is she really dead?
Okay, there's that too in Star Wars, but I don't know. I really did not like him. Like, that was the moment I was like, okay, you have nothing redeemable about you, and I want you to go away immediately. Mando took care of it quite quickly after that, but still.
Yeah, but like you said, well, first of all, Ming-Na Wen can do no wrong. I love her. She is Mulan, and she lives in my heart rent free for sure. But yeah, I love how in this arc, that, like you said, this is where we get the growth. This is where we get, the first one establishes the characters as is. Second one puts them through some sort of paces, and we don't know exactly what that is. And showing specifically the prison episode with Mando, with people that he's gone before. First of all, when you saw the guy who was organizing it, you're like, all right, this is I have no idea what that actor's name, but he's the same character in everything he's ever been in. The guy organizing it, he was a dirty cop in Batman Begins. He was there's a movie I've seen way too many times, and I'm almost ashamed of it, but Too Fast, Too Furious. He's a dirty cop.
Elite.
He's the dirty cop where they put the thing on his stomach and
Yep.
hold it. He's the same character in everything. And so as soon as I saw him on screen, I'm like, this is not going to go well for man. I don't trust you, and because of that actor, I don't trust people that look like him either. But but that's more of a me thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to see that that development of he's never had anyone that he's trusted in all of these missions, and because this is how it's always been. But then just a little tiny character nugget of the child, wanting the little ball that's on the top of the stick and him
Yeah.
unscrewing it was such a warm, like loving moment that I can't help it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it just that little tiny thing means so much. Also, I love the cameos. I love seeing Dave Filoni in an X-wing.
For sure.
Um,
Masterful.
yeah, what was his God? They gave him such a terrible name. Something like Wolfson,
Yeah.
like Trapper
Yeah.
Wolf. Trapper
Yes.
Wolf was the character's name.
The nuggets were amazing. I love how they validated Obi-Wan too, because I know that like some people like were like really there was like love and hate, and even like the name of the podcast, like the high ground. So like they validated the high ground in the Gunslinger episode,
You're
and I'm
right.
like,
It's true.
I'm like I didn't even know what like why the hate what was until I read The Art of War, and I'm like George was right all along. Like why did this get so much hate? Like they literally got it right from the beginning, and they validated it. And now it's like respect the high ground above all else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I got it as soon as I started playing Overwatch.
Oh, true.
But absolutely. And it also, going back to Tatooine, there's some of the scenes that were almost shot for shot remakes of the original. And yeah, it is kind of it's fan servicey for sure, absolutely. But the fan service I have a problem with personally is when you do something that it doesn't apply to the characters in the story. You know what I mean? If you do something for us as the fans, but the characters have no idea of what this thing means, then that's weird to me. You know what I mean? Like I think of the second Star Trek movie where Benjamin Cumberbatch reveals, who he is, and the music gets all tense and all this stuff, and we as the people watching know, like, oh my goodness, that's something huge. But the people in the film, like, okay, that's
That's
all
huge.
right, whatever. You know what I mean? That's weird fan service to me. But but in this, that didn't happen, and something as small as having R5, the little robot with the bad motivator, be one of the servers in the cantina, shows that there's so much love.
He never left the planet.
He never left the planet. He took one for the team. Without him, the galaxy would be lost, and no one will ever know. I love that little stuff. But all right, we'll jump into Act 3, right? So now we have the whole rest of it. The whole Avengers calling the team together to go on this last run. And Jose, we're gonna start with you for take us home.
I want to stress the importance of I don't know if it was the cantina scene, the one where they like meet Moff Gideon at the end, where Jin takes his helmet off, like that like him being able to trust the droid to the extent that, like, I mean, if up to this point we didn't realize that he is part of the ship, part of the crew, he drinks the Kool-Aid. Like he is of the Mandalore code. He has it imprinted in his heart. And so the fact that he was able to let IG-11 basically save him after like knowing that it's basically like this could be the end for me was the peak of great. First of all, a great reveal, and second of all, like a great character moment for both IG-11 and Jin. And obviously, like we'll get into like the Darksaber and all the like the big reveals and all that stuff, but for me, I actually shed a tear when IG-11 sacrificed himself. Like the fact that like we grew to like not trust this like thing at all at the beginning and just be there for humor purposes, and now it's like you are the reason that they will be able to live another day is breathtaking to me. It's like it's another. It's a pat in the back to Dave Filoni and John Favreau. Like they're able to make a droid pull your heartstrings to that extent. Obviously, the Darksaber is amazing as a reveal for Moff Gideon. As a character, like Giancarlo Esposito is like a character master. So like you were able to understand his motivations from day one, even though like he does it with a level of nuance and sneakiness. But the fact that he's able to stand up to the Mandalorians like crew and basically come out unscathed and just ready to go to war now was beyond amazing to me. Besides that, I would say at least for me, the thing that hurt me the most was like Quill's death. At least for me, because like I identified with him. Like he's the like the wise guide that like helps him along the journey, and then like he literally pulls a Yoda and just like is gone forever. So that was pretty heartbreaking. But overall, the 7th and 8th episode leave you on such a high note that I'd be remiss if I didn't say that it was like great story, great cinematography, and a great character arc, like on every level, at least for me.
On every level, from every character, in my opinion, which how do you do that? Yeah, I love it. Sawyer, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, just to backtrack a little bit to kind of the first part of that 2-episode arc, something that we see that goes on in, I think it's episode 7, is Baby Yoda using Force Heal on Grief, which is kind of a turning point for Grief specifically, because I think the plan was he was going to capture Baby Yoda and take him to Moff Gideon, but yeah, no, that was really interesting to see. Just of course, comparing that to the only other instance of Force Heal that we see in Star Wars, which I think is different for a lot of reasons, but that definitely goes to show just how powerful this being is, considering that's not like I said, that's not a power we see much very often. And so that was a moment that I really appreciated in these last 2 episodes. Other than that, I think as Jose was talking about IG-11, I don't think that I myself necessarily had that same, like, I don't think Mando had convinced me throughout the series to not trust droids completely, but definitely when Kuiil was like, oh, I reprogrammed him, he's going to protect Baby Yoda, I definitely was like, okay, well, I hope so. But I was not expecting that complete turnaround and for him to, save Mando's life and convince him, like, yes, you need to take your helmet off, and have him be the one who is able to convince him to do that. It was a really great scene as well. And then just something else that I really appreciated is not only was it a great finale to wrap up this first arc and, like we said, give so much life to all of these different characters, but they found a way to incorporate pretty much every single character from the whole season to some extent, at least the really important ones, in a way that I thought was really just natural and like we end up seeing the armorer at the end, and she's the one who's like, okay, now you are his father, it is your responsibility to protect this thing. And I think that was a really great send-off slash motivator for him to go on into this next storyline. So I really like that moment as well. And then obviously when Moff Gideon crawls out of his TIE fighter and with the Darksaber, that was the moment. I was watching it with my family and we were all like, they didn't know what was going on. They had no idea what the Darksaber was, but I was like, what?
Yeah, I was standing up in my living room doing high kicks.
Yeah, and any possible, my first impression of
I'm
him,
oddly flexible. FYI.
Yeah, my first impression of Moff Gideon, it wasn't a positive one in the sense that I was like, wow, this guy's a great villain. until that moment, really, because he kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't really know exactly where he was going to fit in the storyline, and then for him to pull out of that tie with this, I don't know. It was just a very okay, this guy means business. He is here for a reason, and he is real bad news. So yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed that last part.
Yeah, he did kind of come out of nowhere, but it's also very, very Star Wars. Of you get introduced, and this guy is your villain, and then all of a sudden that guy is gone, and then there's a bigger villain, and you're like, oh, that guy. I mean, that's it's the feels of finding out that Vader wasn't the one running the show in the original trilogy. But yeah, I love it, and there's something I was going to add, and then I totally forgot and lost it, and I apologize.
No, I think that at least the difference to me between that comparison to Palpatine and Moff Gideon, I think it's just that his presence was so strong.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just dun dun dun, there's another person. It was I'm here, I have a plan already, I have everything. It was just kind of separated enough from the other and we didn't really have a bad guy. We knew that everybody was after this creature. But I don't know, just something about the way that they introduced him, and there's a whole other side of this that we had no idea about. I don't know, that was kind of whoa, where did that come from? But yeah.
The plot thickens. It's the best way to put it. The plot thickens. And Matt, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it ended on such a great note. And just to skip to the ending, it felt like a Marvel after the credits scene where he ignites the Darksaber and gets out of the fighter and we find out that he's still alive. That is such something that would come from a Marvel movie. And
for sure,
Taika Waititi is the one who directed it, and he knows a lot about, action filmmaking from doing Thor Ragnarok. We have him to thank for the, what I like to call Tag and Bink sequence, if you know who those two characters are.
Oh, yeah.
The stormtroopers shooting at the scout troopers shooting at this thing in the middle of the way. Is it, you could probably answer this, is it them or is it the blasters that are at fault most for their lack of ability to aim at a target and actually hit it?
Both. Those are terrible blasters, but also you have to remember that this is the war is over. The war is done.
These are the leftovers.
Not only are they the leftovers, but if you played the Battlefront 2 campaign, you're familiar with Operation Cinder, where Palpatine was basically burned everything down
to the ground.
Palpatine was intentionally trying to scuttle the Empire so that it couldn't win. This was a way for him to plan for his eventual return. We end up finding out. But so everyone that was a decent person left the Empire there. They actually had a place called Trader's Remorse where everyone defected to. And it was known that the longer it took for you to defect after they started just being atrocious, the worse person you are. And these are the people that stayed. So that's
ladies and gentlemen, that is why you came here for this analysis.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
no, that was great.
Continue.
No, I love that. That's why we're here doing this. Because I even learned stuff. What I really, really appreciate it from a story perspective and a thematic sequence is when Kuiil and Mando are talking and he's asking him to go on this mission. He says something that really stuck with me. Droids are neutral imprints of those who control them, right? And so I think that made Mando, it didn't make him think that at the time, but I think he kept that in his heart. What I see from that is, Mando, in a way, is programmed, by the Bounty Hunter Guild, by the Mando way. He has his own programming, just as we all do. And when he went away from that, when he decided to actually make a choice for himself and save the child, that was, in a way, his freedom, which, his fear of droids still kept with him. And the things from this programming like not removing his helmet, those are still internalized in him. But really, the irony is that he is the same as a droid, programmed and ready to follow the orders of the cohort, the Mandalorian way, and the Bounty Guild. Use technological weapons to follow what he needs to accomplish, just as IG-11 would, right? So I think what I picked up on was the similarities between him and IG, and I really appreciate that from a storyteller's viewpoint. And you learn kind of what it truly does mean to be a Mandalorian throughout the series. And like I said earlier, it's to just do the honorable thing. And, you know, you see him struggling the entire time, like I said before, with understanding who he can and can't trust and wanting to do this all on his own. But he realizes that he needs a team. The A team, in the end, is the way it feels like, where he's going to all these different planets with those he met along the way who helped him out, who he knew that he could trust to go and actually help him. What I also really find interesting is that Grief Karga, when he kind of goes to Mando's side, he does it from the same perspective that Mando did, in a way, where it's honor to this being that saved him. Baby Yoda is bringing all these people together. And I know how we brought up kind of here and there how he progresses as a character. This is not the way I intended to end this on, but I think that honestly, it's odd that he's seeing all these people wreak violence on everybody. He's seeing Mando in the beginning shoot and disintegrate Jawas and the Trandoshans. He's seeing Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, fight back everyone she meets with brutal force. And it's almost like that is being projected within his growth, and that's why he's starting to use some of those dark side powers like Force Choke, which I find really cool. But honestly, the ending was fantastic. I am really looking forward to season 2 and what they can add next. It did feel like a cliffhanger with that, like I said, Marvel end sequence.
Yeah, oh man, I love like the way this ended. Okay, first of all, the way episode 7 ended wrecked me. Right, because if you recall, the way it ended was a slow motion shot. You didn't see Quill, get downed or any of that. All you know is he was riding, trying to get back to the ship in time, and you don't know what happened. All you see is them scoop up the child, head back in, and then it goes over to his body lying there. Like the way it just artistically, and there was no sound, and it was in slow motion.
The music carried through beautifully.
Yeah.
Did John Williams score this series? Sorry to interrupt
No.
you. I was just no.
No, he didn't. But
the score was.
But we're getting to the production. But yeah. By the way, I had no idea you were such an artist, Jose, and like it makes me. I just want to talk to you about so many more things. No, it's amazing. So many like production level things. There's just so much stuff that I don't think about, and I love to hear from other people. So I mean, I want you to full on nerd out about that as much as possible when we when you can. But yeah, those final episodes of, especially the growth, like you said, of like you said, Matt, of Grief Karga, of freaking Carl Weathers.
Never expected to see him.
Apollo Creed in the flesh, comes out of nowhere. Yeah. I loved it because it goes back to my favorite thing about Star Wars. It's this giant universe and everyone has their own story. He's a guy who sets up bounties. He deals with bounty hunters. He sees the lowest of the low of people in everyone. And his job is figuring out who you can and can't trust. And he runs into these guys and is like, I can trust these guys. Trust them over his own. He shoots down his own men. This was all a trap, you know. And his turnaround in the end is just really cool, and I can't wait to see what that means for that character turning on his own men, being the person that organizes these in this town. How is he going to fare? What's he going to do from now? And um, so I'm excited to see where we go from there. And then, of course, that final scene of sorry, not final scene, but having Gina Carano pull out that gigantic gun and just try like it's like, all right, I guess we're doing this. You know what I mean? Her first thought is just, okay, more violence. And they finally escape. I also want to do a little shout out to that yoked AF R2 unit that was like their fare that ferried them down the thing. It's like, I don't know what that is. I don't want it.
Mildly creepy.
Yeah, it's quite uncomfy. But yeah, the way the season ended, so for me, I was not as in love with the series as most people were from its inception. It was a slow burn for me, but they kept building in all the right areas, on all the right characters, and the way it all came together, especially in the end, was incredible. It was a masterful build, and I love that. I feel like Star Wars is actually better suited to TV than it is to movies because
Agreed.
that long form, TV is what we need to grow with the character. I understand movies are more cinematic, but we need to spend time and understand the personalities and let you know what I mean. It's like a crock pot. We need to put that on low and slow. Just let it simmer.
And I like the weekly digest of everything, like being able to internalize it and think to myself, like, just what exactly happened, dissect each individual part of the episode as they come out, and then be ready for the next week. Whereas, like you said, for a movie, it is cinematic, but it's like, okay, now I need to go to the movie theater 3 times to actually figure out what happened. And it just wasn't, it doesn't always click the first time in my head because I'm so excited to see new Star Wars.
Or, I mean, even expanding on that, Marvel series like Daredevil, all getting dropped in one night. Good. Now, I love it, and I watched it all straight.
That's a lot of time commitment for sure.
It is, but there's no way you can absorb everything straight.
No.
You know what I mean? It's literally not possible. So, I appreciate that type of release schedule as well. But awesome. So we had everyone for their thoughts on. I mean, we got through the whole series. Now, let's get to the art, right? The directing, the score, the graphics, the sets, the acting. There's so much to talk about, especially if you watch the Star Wars Gallery, where we get to go into depth on some of those things. I'm gonna say, personally, straight off. Also, like I said, the cameos. Having Moss from the IT crowd as the droid in the prison episode made me so happy. But also having the thing that carries the Beskar being the ice cream maker.
Wilro Hood, my man.
Oh, God. So there's so much love and care went into this. But yeah, let's jump into the creation of it and that stuff. And I'm going to start with Jose.
Okay, so for me, the first thing that I want to point out that was like a really big deal in the documentary was the VR technology that they used to create the 3, like technically like 4D sets. So like it's gone to the point that like Disney's spending so much money. They are going like all out on this. And I love it because now like there's no excuses. Like if you have to recreate something, it's not that like, oh, we don't have lighting, we don't know how the sun would look and like to hit that perfect shot that I know that like the director wants. It's like no, they will put you straight into Tatooine like in like 30 seconds. So that for me was amazing. I referenced the score earlier on because I didn't know if John Williams was scoring it, but like I didn't appreciate how much the score goes into it till a few years ago. Specifically, I remember the moment that like I was watching Interstellar and like the airlock scene. As soon as like it goes black, like the sound goes dark, like it's full on mute. You're like, whoa! Like the music makes so much of a difference. And I went on a deep dive for all like my favorite movies, what makes them tick. And I feel like Star Wars is such a great balance between those great cinematic, like operatic Ben Hur type of like scores, and something that like feels so personal as what you mentioned, Darth, with like Quill's death scene. It's like slow motion, not a lot of sound, like something so personal and so vivid. Like I could feel myself going like, what's gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna happen. Like it builds up the suspense, and so I feel like it goes understated how much the production behind what you see in the screen matters so much. The sets were also like impeccable. I know they shot on location at a few at like most of them, I believe, instead of like except the ones I heard were like huge. That would be huge undertakings that they just did on set with like the VR graphics.
Yeah.
But like I felt like they hit everything that they needed to hit at a solid level, even if you didn't like love the series, or if it like wasn't your cup of tea in terms of like, oh, I would have rather just this been a movie. Like I feel like they hit every level in a pretty solid manner. Like you could be satisfied watching it from start to finish. And then the acting, obviously, that they had like A-list actors up the wazoo in this undertaking. It was amazing. I was so happy they had Carl Weathers here. Like, oh my! Like when I saw him,
Talk
I was
about
like,
camp.
yeah, I was like, I know, but at the same time, you're like,
So good, though.
I understand why they brought him. I understand why, because at the beginning you were like, oh, this is just gonna be like the tongue in cheek type of character that just goes like tries to push Mando just a tad little bit, but it's like no, he becomes like essential. He's meant to be like the guild master basically, and he's just like I'm gonna go in this guy's corner, even though everything in my body is telling me like turn this guy in. So I felt
Honestly, I feel like his personality kind of carries. Yeah, I mean, they in the
yeah.
making of they talked about like he was going to be an alien, and they're like, no, we can't cover this man's face. He
No,
he carries a lot of this, thing where the main character we can't see his face. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I just wanted to add, but I can't
no, no,
continue.
no. That's also like a big thing. Like when you have such a great set of characters and like some of them are aliens. Like how do you deal with that? That was so masterful on the part of Dave Filoni and John Favreau in terms of balancing like practical effects and then digital, because IG-11 is a digital character for the most part. Like there is there is a practical droid on set, but it's mostly like 3D, like a it's a digital rendering. So they merged form, like style and function to the best like degree, at least for me, for what like for the extent of the hype that it was for the Mandalorian season 1. They executed, and I gotta give them a slow clap for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's oh man, there's so much to this. Sorry, your thoughts.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to talk about here, especially you could sit down and break this down for hours. I mean, I guess I'll start by saying we brought this up like at the beginning of this episode, but you know, Disney, I feel like there was quite a bit of pressure on them to take Star Wars into live action TV, and especially with the reception of some of the newer films, I think that they kind of had one shot to make this as great as they possibly could. And I think that's I almost want to say that I'm proud as a Star Wars fan that they really took every possible thing that was available to them and spent as much money as they possibly needed to create these beautiful sets and the beautiful soundtrack and get those actors and just all those things. And I thank God Baby Yoda was a puppet and not CGI. I think originally he was supposed to be CGI, and I'm so glad they didn't do that because that it's so important for him, especially to have the emotions that can really only effectively be replicated when you have a physical thing rather than a Jar Jar Binks style mistake. So I have to give Jon Favreau and Filoni credit for, and they both have a lot of experience in the universe fans as well. So I feel like that gave them a leg up on what to, do. But at the same time, it's live action. It's never been brought to TV before. And I just, I have to give them so much credit for really exploring every possible option and doing the very best that they could with that. In terms of the soundtrack, it kind of took me a little bit of time to kind of vibe with it. It wasn't, when I think of Star Wars, even the animated series, I think of John Williams first, of course, and kind of the same way that it even though Michael Giacchino, I think he did Rogue One, kind of the same way. He, that was a phenomenal soundtrack as well, but it still wasn't John Williams, and you can just tell. And so I think maybe I had that expectation, which obviously nobody is John Williams except for himself. But so I think it took me a little bit, but I really do like what, the Mandalorian theme is now iconic. You can recognize it anywhere. And like you said, those subtle choices, like with Quill's death and things, were very impactful. And kind of, at least to me, I don't always see those quieter moments in soundtracks are really important to carry emotion across. And I think that of all the Star Wars films, I think The Last Jedi actually executes that the best, from like what I can recall. And I think Mandalorian would be a close second in terms of soundtrack wise, doing that, effectively portraying emotional moments with the quieter sound, if that makes sense. And in terms of acting, I, like we said, very campy a lot of times. Gina Carano was pretty much exactly what I was expecting from someone who is not an actress, but perhaps is she WWE or MMA? I can't remember.
She's a bit of both.
Okay. So, very Fast and Furious, very kind of, I was expecting that. But at the same time, she brought a lot to the character, and I do want to see more of her and see more of her story. But in terms of The Mandalorian, I think I don't hear a lot of people giving Pedro Pascal, I just think that he deserves the absolute most credit because he just brought so much nuance to the character, a character that you can't even see his face. And I know he wasn't always the person in the suit, but, the way he carried himself for the whole series is just, I just think it was a phenomenal acting job. And, I don't hear a lot of people praising him for that, and they totally should be doing that. So.
Yeah, and one of the things I really appreciated is that they did make a note in Star Wars Galaxy when it came to, well, it was during the episode where they were talking about score, but it applies to everything about Star Wars and how close should you hold it to yourself to the point where there's no changes, there's no not improvements, but there's no variation, there's no progress, and they wanted to have an homage to what we had before, but not be held specifically to it so that we can continue to move forward and grow. And I think they did. It was jarring for me at first, mostly because in the first 2 episodes, honestly, I will honestly go on record saying I think the music mix was too loud. It was too loud in the first
Sure.
2 episodes, where I'm just like, oh man, they're just like hit me in the chest with this music. I don't know if I like it yet or not, but it's abrasive.
When you
know?
rewatch it, I rewatched it today, and I felt that way at first, honestly. But now that I like the music and I know the music, it felt a lot better.
Yeah, it was hard coming in at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's like
I agree.
it's hot outside. You jump into a cool pool. Yes. Once you get out of the pool, you can hop back in. Not a huge difference, but that's kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, Matt. How do you feel when we go to directing, score, graphics,
Sure.
sets, and acting?
Sure. So I think with the music, what I really appreciated by it, it's this organic mix of like normal music, almost symphonic, which is John Williams, and then it has this techno beat rock element. And the mixture of that is perfect because that's really what Mando is from a thematic perspective, right? He's got the armor, he's got the weapons, he's cool, awesome dude who's fighting his way through. That's the rock element. And then there's this organic side, which is the way, the more spirituality part of what Star Wars is and what holds it together. So I thought that was really cool. I forget the name of the composer. He did a wonderful job. I love the You Are a Mandalorian track from the first episode, actually, when they're riding the blurgs across the desert, jumping across the cracks in the sand. I thought that was epic. Not on the first time, but on a rewatch. The first time I watched it, like you guys, it took me out of it. I wasn't knowing what to expect, and always getting new Star Wars in general for me is something that I have to get used to. And once I started listening to it a bit more, once the soundtrack became fully fleshed out, especially that Mandalorian theme, which we hear at the end of every episode, I started really appreciating it a lot more. I remember the first episode, I was like, oh, what is this at the ending? And then the last episode, I was rocking out to the Mando music. It was epic. But from a directing perspective, I think that, Jon Favreau, this amazing guy who directed Jungle Book, Lion King, think what you will about those films, but the level of technology and what he was experimenting with at the time, which is shown in that gallery documentary about this series, is mind-boggling to me. Using, like you said, Jose, that VR technology, so cool. And it's inexpensive.
Yeah.
They don't have to spend a lot of money to go on location. If they're going to film something where they need real lighting, they go to the back lot to shoot that.
Yeah.
Outside of that,
put it in Unreal 4.
Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy that we are living in an era where we can't decipher mentally what's technology produced and what is really location. I mean, of course they're using, videography.
I mean, the way that you say that implies that we are not currently in a simulation.
And we are. And we are in a simulation, just FYI.
Oh my goodness. Mandalorian talk, simulation theory, all coming together. But no, I really appreciate their level of, advancement. And this is what George Lucas talked about when he's like, oh, I'm going to go make films in my basement. Like, you can do this in your basement. You don't have to leave your parking garage where you're filming this. You can do it all right there and you wouldn't even know the difference. It's fantastic. And then we have someone like Dave Filoni come in, who is, in my estimation, and a lot of Star Wars fans, I believe, the Padawan to George Lucas, right? He was with him for so long through Clone Wars, an era where I grew up in. So I love Dave Filoni Star Wars storytelling. It's what I would estimate the nearest to George Lucas, like I said, and I can really get on board with whatever him and Jon Favreau are cooking up for a season 2. But we had Taika Waititi. He has his flavor. Deborah Chow did that 3rd episode, which I thought was fantastic. Rick Foyuma, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. He did a fantastic job with the prison episode. All these different directors, Bryce Dallas Howard, who came from Jurassic Park, who I liked for the episode she was in, per the ATST moment, where it's this big monstrous creature, not just something that the Ewoks go and blow up in Return of the Jedi. So each individual director really adds something new to the mix, I thought, personally. And then lastly, from an artistic perspective, I am a graphic designer. So I really, really, really do appreciate seeing the concept art at the end. But sorry to cut you off. That was amazing.
No, that is super cool that we actually get, like, that's such a privilege, you know what I mean? Like if you play video games and you like that's you unlock concept art. That's the privilege that it is. And also to what you were saying, Bryce Dallas Howard, being the daughter to Ron Howard, and
a lot to live up to.
But her talking about like being a child and flying to Japan and meeting with, she's with her dad, Ron Howard, George Lucas, and Akira Kurosawa. She's a child. She has no idea who these people are, what's going on. It's just such mind-boggling stories. It's reminiscent of Carrie Fisher's stories as a child, because she was Hollywood royalty and has stories of, being a child, waking up in the morning and the Rolling Stones are drunk sleeping on her couch. You know what I mean? Stuff like that happened to her on a regular basis. That's part of the problem.
And you don't know that's normal when you're a kid either. You don't know what is normal from that perspective.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so much cool stuff to impact with this, and I love that. I mean, there's a lot of things that Disney does that people will automatically say that's just a cash grab. That's just money. But for instance, doing Star Wars Gallery as a weekly release after The Mandalorian is over,
perfect execution.
I would pay more money for it. You know what I mean? Like,
don't give them any ideas.
No, true.
Have you seen Mulan?
Yeah. That being said,
pirated, but yes.
I agree with that. I mean, I used to look forward to, when I watched Star Wars as a kid, watching them behind the scenes. So having that for a whole series, 8 episodes, holy cow.
That being said, the concept art for the child left me scarred for life. I was like, oh dear God, please, thank you that you didn't make him like an old, like soggy, like, oh my God, please don't. Thank you, Dave Filoni. Thank you, Dave Filoni.
I got nightmare flashbacks of when
Gremlins.
No, worse. Okay. When I saw the prequels in theater.
Oh,
they had Puppet Yoda that looked like a crackhead.
That's what I grew up with, because I had the VHS. Yeah.
Crackhead Yoda.
He was just straight up like, don't do meth.
Facts.
All right, so season 1 was awesome. I'm gonna need some hard predictions from season 2.
Ooh.
Now I have 2 separate categories, right? One is predictions, one is wish list. All right. Predictions, we're gonna go fast. We're gonna go through everyone. I want you to make like a hard prediction, and I want to be able to call you out on it if it happens or doesn't happen.
Love that.
So let's start predictions first. Sawyer, we're coming to you. Season 2 predictions.
Oh God. Okay. Oh goodness. Okay. I think that this is not going to be interesting at all. I think that even though we are pretty sure that Ahsoka is going to be in this series, I think it's going to be for 1 episode. I think it's going to be very underwhelming for people that really wanted to see her, and I think I want to say they do her justice, but I think we're going to be left going, why was this in here? That is my prediction.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. I agree with it. I think it's 1 episode, and what I'm predicting that it is a backwards pilot. It is a pilot for a live action
This man knows.
that's gonna go off, right? That's what it's like. That weird episode of The Office, like season 9, where they're all on the farm. That was a pilot for a weird Dwight Farm show that no one wanted. I think that's.
I don't
want
to see that.
All right, Matt. Predictions. Let's go.
Just like Sawyer, I think Ahsoka will be in one episode. I think it'll be epic, though. To go off of what you were saying, I think it'll actually be really good. I think a lot of people are speculating, oh, we're going to see Captain Rex. I think that'd be really cool, and I think that we're going to see him more likely than we're going to see Sabine, right? Because I think that she's with Ezra by now in the timeline, if you look at it that way, and you've watched Rebels. I think that, this is a weird one, but I think by the end of this season, we're going to be left on a cliffhanger with Moff Gideon holding Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian having to get back to him. I think that cliffhanger is going to happen at the ending of this season. And that's, I know, very far down the road, but I would look forward to that because I love not knowing what's going to happen next. That's why I love the Marvel movies so much, is because when Infinity War happened, you get the snap and you're wondering how are they actually going to come back with it. I think that, everybody's saying, are we going to see a Boba Fett? Are we going to see a Boba Fett? I think if we see Boba Fett, it's not going to be Boba Fett. I think we're going to see his armor under, what's his face from Aftermath? What is his name? I forget.
Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth. Yes, I think we're going to see him instead of Boba. But I think I'll leave it there because my wish list is a bit longer. Oh, and I think we're going to figure out why Moff Gideon has the Darksaber, of course. I would love, this is more wish list, but I would love to see a full episode just going into his backstory. I would love to see that. But we're not going to get it, I don't think.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I'm sorry, I got the nicest message in chat I've ever gotten in my entire life.
That's awesome, dude.
And sorry.
What did it say?
What did it say? Read it.
I just asked if I'm allowed to share it, but
okay.
Man, it's sorry, the Star Wars community that I've found here is just it's the best. My eyes are watering right now. So awesome. So the message says because it was an awesome person, Connor, in the chat. He said he was offering like bits for Twitch, which I don't fully understand yet because I'm new to this. Like
affiliate and all that.
May is the very first time I ever created content for anyone ever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But he said, you don't understand. You've changed a lot of people's lives. You're an inspiration. Every day I personally look forward to watching you. My friend, you make me smile. You're so positive. To be honest, I'll admit it keeps me going in life. Keep being you. You're the nicest person I've ever met. I know times will be bad for you as you're a human. So I want to repay the favor. I'm always here for you. I bless you and your wife on a daily basis. Keep being you. God bless you, Brandon.
Wow, that hits.
And I've never cried on screen before.
Oh, go for it.
Go for it.
No, that's epic. No, you seriously, like, when you make content, you never know how people are going to receive it, and to actually know that you're making an impact is amazing. Congrats, dude. That's amazing.
Congrats.
And you so deserve it. I mean, you are hands down one of my favorite people that I've probably ever met in my entire life. Like, it's a privilege to be on this podcast, and it's a privilege to understand. So,
yeah, seriously.
Same. As soon as I saw you were one of the nicest. First of all, I was so inspired by the way that you're like so accepting of other people and like their opinions and the way that like everybody knows this. Star Wars fandom can be really toxic, and like you are kind of like the bright star in the middle of that. So it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be here, honestly.
And you know so much about it too.
Yeah.
I was honestly a little nervous to come on here tonight. I thought
Oh,
I
yeah,
knew a
me
lot about
too.
Star Wars, and then I watched your TikToks, and I'm like, well, crap, he's gonna outdo me this time.
The force is with him. The force is with our man.
No, it's about being geeky together. I am just gracious because like I think of Star Wars Celebration 2015, the first and only one I've been to, and the people I met there is why I live in San Diego right now. I made
Wow.
friends there, and they introduced me to someone that I lived with for 4 years, and I'm still friends with all of these people.
That's awesome.
And moving down here is how I met my wife. Like it's, I don't know, I owe
Surreal.
everything to the Star Wars community, and so I would give everything back if I can. Anyways, sorry to go off on that digression. Jose, I gotta get some predictions, some hard predictions.
Wow, it's hard. It's hard to like go off from that, but I'll give you.
I
I'll give you.
apologize. I was
No,
not
and I love
expecting it
this.
myself, but
I'm here for wholesome Twitch. Like this is what we want here. So
Seriously.
for me, I have three things. For me, I have three predictions. One of them is that we will see a kyber crystal, in some way, in some way. Because if you think about it, they're setting up Baby Yoda with the Force. They're setting up like something is being extracted. We haven't mentioned like they haven't mentioned midichlorians, something like that, and we know of Ahsoka. Like there will be a kyber crystal. Either Jin will find it, or he will interact with it, or like something will happen with a kyber crystal. Second, my prediction is that we will see something of Baby Yoda's species, or like Yoda's species. Like either one, I think it's either going to be what Matt said, like Moff Gideon winning, and then it's going to be like the Avengers Endgame, like trying to get him back, or it'll be like, oh, there's more. Like there are more of Yoda's species lying around. And third is instead of Matt's prediction of like Boba Fett just seeing the armor, there will be like a full-on battle at some point. That's my third prediction. A full on like
with Boba Fett, or
yeah, with Boba, like Jin and Boba, and like because if you think about it, like I'm not really sure if the expanded universe talks about this that like to this length, but I don't even think is it confirmed if Boba Fett is a real Mandalorian, or if it's just like a product of Boba Fett being just a bounty hunter. Sorry, a Jango Fett being a bounty hunter that just like passes on from one generation to the next.
In Clone Wars, they confirmed that that Jango and Boba are not Mandos.
Okay, so then it's literally like the like imposter versus the one that's like earning being the Mandalorian. Truth. Yeah, the true Mandalorian versus the imposter, and like that storyline. Oh, that is Western written all over it. I want
Wait till season 3. Wait till season 3.
I want it. I want it.
They're actually. I mean, you saying that actually brings me to a question, because I'm not certain of this, and I may very well have missed something, but we know that Boba is not a Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know that Jango was never affiliated? I'm curious if it's possible that Jango was, or maybe left or whatever, but raised Boba in the tradition, but he was never part of their group, so he has the sauce.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying.
You know, I'm curious. I just don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and especially that information came from Prime Minister Almec, and we know that he's not necessarily the most trusted individual in the galaxy, but I see what you're saying, though, and I like where you're going with it.
Yeah, and it's not trying to be contrarian or anything, just curious, you know? Also, I asked, because we have my favorite TikTok creator, Element 7 is in the chat. He said, Din is seeking out the Jedi, so the closest thing we can come to that is Ahsoka. I think he's going to track her down as she's tracking down Ezra. And so we'll see Ahsoka and Sabine on their search, and the paths are intertwined temporarily. But Bo-Katan is 100% to show how she lost the Darksaber.
Wow.
So I would love to see all of that, especially because oh my goodness, why is the name escaping me? Um, Katie Sackhoff,
Ooh.
our favorite sexy Cylon, who plays the voice for Bo-Katan, is perfect age to play her in this right now. So a live action Bo-Katan, I would love to see, and I need it. I need it in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um. All right. So my hard things is, for one, Baby Yoda, aka the child, is going to get a name. We need a name.
Okay.
God damn it.
We do.
Yeah.
I'm tired of calling him Baby Yoda.
So-
that was oh my god, that was gonna be my wish list that he doesn't get a name.
You just call him Baby Yoda forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, my thing is, he's gonna get a name. That we are going to see. We're gonna see Boba Fett. And even though the Aftermath book heavily implied that he's dead, I think the fans are gonna resurrect him.
Yep.
Well, wasn't it George who said himself, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
oh, he's totally alive. He got out of the Scarlac. Yeah.
Oh no. To George, he's dead.
Oh, really? I thought it was George who.
Yeah.
But when Disney bought it, I thought. I could be
So
wrong.
when so the funny thing, it's always a question of, like, how did Disney decide what's canon and what's not canon?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What made them choose this stuff? And the truth is, Disney didn't choose it. This is George Lucas's canon that they're going off of.
Okay.
If George Lucas himself didn't consider it canon, it's not canon. And that's where the separation happened. And it's fun because there's all these authors, Timothy Zahn, Karen Travis was pissed about it. John Jackson Miller. There's a bunch of authors that fully were like, "Oh yeah, we were never part of George's canon. Like we are beholden to his vision. He's not beholden to ours," and stuff. And so I know I think that Disney's going to bring him back. I don't know how, because the way Aftermath was, it implies that he died and lost his armor. So if he survived, he showed up naked, which I want to see. But it could potentially be any clone showing up trying to reclaim that armor. So those are my predictions. I'm sorry to spend so much time just ranting myself. I apologize. All right,
man.
Real quick, let's do both wish lists, and you guys have the stamp, the green light stamp. You can green light any project in Star Wars, and it's going to happen no matter what. What are you going to give the green stamp to? And I am coming to you. I started with Soya, so Matt.
Oh boy. So wish list. This sounds terrible. Whatever characters you bring back from animated Star Wars or any other part of Star Wars, don't mess it up. That is my wish. So if you're gonna bring Sabine in, if you're gonna bring Ahsoka, if you're gonna bring Captain Rex, Boba Fett, Kitty Sackhoff's character, Bo-Katan, if you bring all of these characters in, don't mess them up. That is my major wish. I would love if all those characters came in and interplayed at some point. Is it going to be season 2? Who knows? I think it's only a matter of time, really, especially with someone like Bo-Katan who knows the history and the meaning of the Darksaber. Mm-hmm. I think we have to see her character at some point because the show is called The Mandalorian. She is just such an amazing character that would fit right in with this cast, I think. Honestly, I don't want to see too much of those characters. I don't really want to see Sabine. I don't really want to see... I think the way you pitched it, Jose, with Boba Fett was the best way that I've ever heard it. So you got me on board with Boba Fett. From the perspective of something that's not character-driven necessarily, I'm already happy to see that we're going back to Tatooine. I'm already happy to see all that. One character that no one is bringing up that I really want to see, though, going back to characters, is Cad Bane. I really want to see Cad Bane because we have so many other bounty hunters and bounty hunter talk in this, and he would be kind of an old man at this point. But I think, if I were writing the story, I think it would be him that comes in to save or to inspect the bounty hunter from the 5th episode on Tatooine's body, because we don't know who that mystery character is. A lot of people are speculating this Boba Fett. I would love for it to be Cad Bane, actually. Like I said, I would really like to see a full episode that goes into the backstory of Moff Gideon and understand where he's coming from and what his perspective is. I think that it would be really cool if here's my pitch for what happens and why they're going after Baby Yoda, or the child, whatever you want to call this unnamed character so far. Maybe it's to kind of take the midichlorians from him, because the Imperials have a perception that, in order to be all powerful like Vader or Sidious, these high powered ex-Sith Lords, that they have to have more of a physical substance. So maybe they're going after the midichlorians to inject into Moff Gideon. Maybe he's seeking that power. He has the Darksaber in this big cape. Maybe he's looking to be something like them. Just a thought. My stamp, if I could greenlight anything, I would like to see, this is so hard because I would have said before the Bad Batch was announced, another spin-off Clone Wars series. I think it's awesome that we're getting that, even if it is just for like a singular season. If not, going back to Cad Bane, I would love to see what happened to him and Boba Fett after the events of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. What happened to all those bounty hunters? Just go on a Star Wars: The Clone Wars animation spree with all the bounty hunters and see what adventures they went on, because those episodes were canceled and never told, except for that one bit of footage from Celebration where we see Boba Fett maybe killing Cad Bane. We don't know, though.
And Dark Disciple.
Yes, exactly. Which I haven't finished yet. Haven't had the time. I know it's so terrible.
Sorry, you need to finish it too.
I know. I'm halfway through. it. I just got to do it. I got to commit.
Do you want to take my organic chemistry test? We can trade.
Pass.
No mechanisms for me, not anymore.
All right, Jose, you got your wish list and green light button.
For wish list, I know it's like, I'm going off of what Matt said as well. Like, I don't want them to like destroy a character that's like beloved in the canon, but I want to see a Force Ghost. I want to see a Force Ghost at some point. I've always really liked the idea of having Mace Windu show up as a Force Ghost, considering he's kind of like Yoda. He was like, they were at the apex of their power and they failed. And they can teach so much about failure and like trying to like get there, that like I would love to see Mace Windu.
So, I don't mean to laugh, but I just picture him showing up, be like, "What's up, you baby ass motherfucker?" yeah. I mean, that would be so, like, I love Sam Jackson. I mean, we got to use him while he's still alive. Like he's getting up there.
I mean, he says he wants to play. He'd do it again.
Bro, like, yes. You inject
I wouldn't even say
Sam Jackson.
He'd have to be a Force Ghost. Maybe he's just there. Maybe he survived.
I mean, technically, that's what I was thinking. Like, while you were talking, it's like, oh, we technically heard him in like Rise of Skywalker, so it's like they're technically like all dead now. So it's like kind of wild, but
well,
yeah.
I mean, so in Rebels, Yoda appeared to Ezra, and Yoda was still alive.
But I mean, if Yoda can blow up a tree, if Yoda can blow up a tree post death, Mace Windu can show up and like blow a few F-bombs on these people. So that'd be one. That'd be one. Definitely a Force Ghost. Second of all, I want to see a Wookiee. Like, I want to see. I want, like, I don't want to see Chewbacca. No, I just want to see another Wookiee have like good like character like development, even though like they can't really talk that much.
And he can't be related to Chewbacca.
No
They are not all
Chewbacca
related.
It's
relationship.
Nala.
No, yeah, no, like no Chewbacca relationship. The other wish list that I have, I don't like. I wouldn't say. The thing is, I want the Mandalorian to be kind of his own like thing. Like I want the Mandalorian to be its own thing. So I don't want to like mess that much with like Din Djarin. But I want to bring like somebody that like either knew Han Solo or that like interacted with that like original gang of characters back so they can like at least serve as the guide, like now that Quill is gone, like serve as the guide once they have a little bit more like a rapport with each other. And I know that's really vague, but like those are the three things that popped in my head. In terms of stamping, I've had this in my mind for years. Okay, I want a Star Killer show now, like from the Force Away, like from the Force Unleashed. I want his series now, and like the other one would be, let's you've already expanded on the lore enough. Let's bring a series where it brings the other side of the coin. Let's bring a series that focuses on the Sith. So like Darth Revan, Darth Bane, like the nuances that come with that, with thousands of years of war and like trying to like decipher what true power is, and like Darth Nihilus as he's like referenced in like the what's the things like the statues in the Rise of Skywalker. Like I want to see that, and like Star Wars can get there, because if you want to go like the darker side, like Star Wars has been there. And like I'm pretty like while there was no blood, that last scene in Rogue One was classic like Hitchcock type horror. Like just the sound and just being like, woo, woo. That's literally like something you'd see in Alien or something like that. It doesn't have to be super gory, but like don't be afraid to take it like that to that level, because we saw Kylo Ren get like pretty dark and like literally chop people in half. Like you can show Darth Nihilus like literally like consuming somebody and like losing his humanity, or like, well, technically I think it's a her, but yeah, like that's what I would do. I would do Star Killer, like introduce him into the canon officially, or like Cal Kestis, like do a series on him, and then like definitely a Sith series. It is time. Bad guys need their spot to shine too.
Absolutely. So have you read the Darth Bane trilogy?
No, I haven't. I haven't read like much of the books. Like that's the only thing that I'm like, I need to finish the 7th season of the Clone Wars, and then I have to start reading.
So
I have to start reading.
Real talk. If I sent you an audiobook of the Darth Bane trilogy, would you at least listen to the first book or try?
For sure. Does it explain everything? Does it explain like?
Oh my god! It is your dream. It is your dream. I'm giving it to you because you want it. You don't know that you want it yet. It's incredible.
Because I know like the basics of like the rule of two, and I understand it, but like
so much deeper than that.
Yes.
And you know you're a lore guy. This is the most dark side lore of anything, really. Truthfully,
I'll hear it. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, we're making that happen. Okay. And that was the green light button. Gotcha. Sawyer.
Okay. So I already said, completely in contrast to what you want, I do not want Baby Yoda to have a name. I like that he is the child. I don't know why. I think if he just has a name, it just takes away from like his like, he's kind of like a mystical. We don't know anything about him, so I think if we give him a name, it will take away from that, at least personally. So that's like number one. Number two, kind of like what Matt said. I love all of the characters that Dave Filoni has spent so much time with, and I have not watched Rebels yet, but I understand that those characters have such importance, and Ahsoka, obviously. I trust.
Watch it.
I will. Again, organic chemistry.
Understand.
True. Very true.
Facts.
No, but and if there were anyone in Star Wars to do them justice in live action, it would of course be Favreau and Filoni. But
Yeah.
if you overcrowd Mandalorian season 2 with a bunch of these characters, that takes away from basically everything we just talked about in the past 2 hours of how the Mandalorian did such a phenomenal job giving life to all of these new characters that we've never seen before and rounding them out so nicely and setting them up for their own journey. And I don't need to see all these other people. I think Matt's right. Having Bo-Katan is almost necessary because of the Darksaber. But I mean, I don't know. I don't need to see 5, 6, 7 characters that we already know so much about. So I think that those are my two 100% wishes. So, but I would also really like to see Mando. I would like to see Din face a situation where it's not a droid that he has to show his face to. I would like to see him confronted with his loyalty to the Mandalorians and have him, I would like to see what would happen if he broke the code, either intentionally or unintentionally. I think that's something, I don't know if they'll be able to explore that in this season necessarily, but I would really like to see that at some point.
Yeah.
Going off of that really quick. Oh, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is they're going to go like full Anthony Hopkins in the original Thor. You're unworthy of your title. You're unworthy of being my son. Yeah.
Well, not so much that, but I'd like to see how he deals with it himself, because it's him, he was willing to die for a droid to not see his face. So I don't know. I just would like to have him have no choice but to, be confronted with that at some point. But anyway, green light. I'm gonna go way more on the side of what Jose was talking about. I only recently started getting into the Old Republic, all these amazing stories that are not canon anymore. I don't necessarily, I would love for Revan, I would love for Knights of the Old Republic in general to become canon, or for them to adapt it in a way that it could be canon with everything else. I think that story is really cool, and those characters from that era are just amazing, especially the Sith characters. But even if Disney didn't go that route, I would just like to get away from the Skywalkers. The Mandalorian does get away from that, but
yes.
It's still in between two trilogies, and I would love for them not to go forward. I don't really, and I am the biggest sequel defender on the planet. I know that one of my episodes for this is going to be The Rise of Skywalker. I will defend that movie way more than I probably should. But I don't need to see what happens after. I want to know what happened way before the Skywalkers were even in the picture at all. So whether that looks like things we've already seen before, but just Disney's interpretation, or something completely different. Yeah.
Okay, I like it. I love a lot of what everyone has said here. Me coming into this, he needs a name. Sorry. I'm joking. No, I appreciate your thoughts on remain, but actually, based off what you said, I've actually formed a new hard prediction, and that's the season ender of this next season is that he is going to have to denounce his Mandalorian ties for Baby Yoda, and that's how the season is going to end. And he's going to have to go into the next season unaffiliated.
I was thinking series.
This and that. No. I'm calling season.
Wow.
Oh,
mostly because I feel like that would create the most
tension
drama for the character.
Yeah.
My watch has ended. Full on Game of Thrones.
That's what I want to see. And also, top of my wish list. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. But I loved the Marvel Netflix shows. A lot of them. Not all of them were great. But don't get me wrong. But there was a lot of great in all of them. Right? It's a distinction. So what I want more than anything, if Rosario Dawson is being Ahsoka, I want Jessica Henwick to be Sabine, and I want Simone Missick to come in as Sana Starros. And we have a Daughters of the Dragon reunion in Star Wars.
Nice.
I would just die. I would just pass out and die. That would be amazing.
You want Han Solo's girlfriend to from the comics.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. But to be played by, she played Misty Knight in Luke Cage. But it would be a full-on Marvel Daughters of the Dragon reunion in Star Wars.
Oof.
And I need it.
I need it.
For the green light button, by the way, I gotta say, Sawyer, I love you. I love you so much. But I'm gonna have to disagree with you again. So for my green light button, and I've mentioned it before, but what I want is a series where it's Rey and she's trying to set up or understand what the Jedi is, or trying to set up what the Jedi will be, but oh no, we haven't even gotten to the content yet.
I want Finn as a Jedi. Sorry.
And she's going to be training Finn, and Finn's going to be learning as well. But I want this to be a Prime Luke series. I want her to have the ancient textbooks and be going through them with Luke's notes. And I want this to be a flashback series where it's Rey reading these flashbacks of Luke, and it flashbacks to Luke learning these lessons, going to a bunch of these Force-sensitive groups around the galaxy and learning what they have to teach them. It's Luke trying to start up his Jedi Order and failing. And all of this is being read by Rey, who is going to, in the future, incorporate this. But it's a Luke series.
Ooh.
In the future, with
who's playing Luke, though?
Past. Sebastian Stan.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I am in.
I would accept that. I would accept it on those terms.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm, and we definitely will be talking about this quite a bit more, but from all of the theorizing and like wish list stuff that I have seen on the like pro sequel side of Star Wars, I'm just so sick of seeing it. So I'm just like, I can't.
That's
imagine.
fair.
Yeah, let's get away from the Skywalkers. That's true.
1,000%. Second to that is the Darth Bane series, but it has to be a long form show. You can't tell the Darth Bane series in movies. The first book would be 3 movies by itself at the minimum.
Ooh.
Not because it's so long, but because it covers so much. He's a guy that didn't know the Force existed to being one of the most powerful Sith Lords in existence and destroying the Sith. So, you can't cover that in 3 movies. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where I'm going, and that's why. And Jose, if you read it, I will do another podcast episode of just dark side stuff, and we'll bring you back for it. And I need it. And Element 7, you're in the chat. I'm calling you out because I need you on this episode as well. If we do this dark side episode. Yeah, so that's where I'm going with this. But thank you guys so much for coming on and joining me. It's awesome. Like every time I do one of these, I have no idea where it's gonna go, how we're gonna end up, or what people are gonna say, and I'm shocked every time, and I love it every single time. So it's just great. I want to go through and do if you guys have any final thoughts on season 1 or season 2, and also let everyone know where we can find you. And I'll start with Matt.
So just right off the bat, if you want to find me on social media, I am at Matt Mellish on everything. So TikTok, Instagram. I don't really go on Twitter. Don't go follow me on Twitter or Facebook. I don't go there. If you look at my Facebook, it still looks like I'm dating my ex-girlfriend. It's bad. I just don't use it. And then on YouTube, my YouTube channel is Matt Mellish. But final thoughts on The Mandalorian. I love the series. Like, truly, it is up there for my top Star Wars storytelling, which is saying a lot. I grew up with the Clone Wars, so the Clone Wars will always be number one for me. Truly, like, it goes over the original trilogy for me. I just love the character storytelling and the lore that you get out of that series. But Mandalorian really shows a different part of Star Wars that I can get on board with any day of the week. It just takes you to different places with characters that you would have never thought you would meet. Who would come to look at Kuiil as being such a beloved character that you're so sad to see killed at the end of that 7th episode? There are some great emotional moments like that that keep me watching, and I'm just excited to see where it goes. I think, Rebels started out for me as being one of those shows where it's kind of like, okay, we're on the same planet, we're not doing much here. Let's get more into Star Wars lore. And I think The Mandalorian will kind of evolve in that same way. I think we're going to find out more about not necessarily Yoda's species, even though that's where it looks like it's going, but just get more into the Force and the way it works, which I would have never thought by hearing the pitch of a bounty hunting series with a guy like Mando. That was a shocker for me, and a good one at best. How do I think the series will end? This is my series prediction. I think it will end with him going back to the planet with that widow and her child and taking the helmet off and living with her. I think that's a very peaceful way to end it. It was just too early on in the story for him to do it at this point, and he was still wanting to do something like that. So I think he's going to be stuck with Baby Yoda for a while, or the child, or whatever you want to call him. But I think it's going to end still with those two together, but him taking the helmet off, denouncing the Mandalorian ways, like you said, Darth. And it's going to be a happy ending for the character who did so much to protect something that he loves so much and cares about. Oh, and also to wrap it up for me, thank you so much for having me on here. It was such a blessing. I love your content, and to be able to come and talk Star Wars was just, it made me so happy to see your message, especially in my live. That made my night. So thank you for all that you do. And like your one listener said, you do make a difference, even though you might not see it and it's just behind a camera. So yes, those are my final thoughts.
I appreciate it. I mean, not you trying to make me cry, but everything else.
Not the goal.
Jose, final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Wow, it's hard to follow that, Matt. But in terms of the series and itself, I'm a really big fan of subverting expectations, and I'm really excited to see this side of Star Wars where it's like it's no holds barred. The Empire is gone. Like we need to know what's happening, like who's surviving, who's the scrappiest, like survival of the fittest type of thing. And I really like how the Mandalorian is adding lore from like all areas of the galaxy, like shock troopers, Yoda species, like every single aspect that we know and love from the original trilogy and from the Clone Wars and all the other Star Wars media is converging at the perfect time. And I'm so glad that I'm alive and healthy to like watch all of this unfold. In terms of how the series will end, I do agree that he will try to like live a peaceful life, but I do think that like we will see the child make a decision on like what type of Force user he or she wants to be, and I would love that. I think this is a perfect 3 or 4 season show for Disney. Unless they want to like milk it and be like, oh, because like for example, like the Force healing was technically like just before Rise of Skywalker, so you had some like oh, I saw that in the Mandalorian. So like if they want to milk it, they can take it like to infinity and beyond. But the ideal thing for me is having the character that we are literally witnessing since the beginning at least get to the teenage stage, either do like a flash forward or something like that, and they choose like choose. That would be the ideal thing for me in terms of that. As far as like where can they find me, I am Island Joe on TikTok, and it's Island Joe on anything everything else. I'm starting my Twitch. I've already had some streams there. If you guys ever want to play any video games, I have like literally all the systems now. Okay, I've been saving up for like a year and a half trying to do this. So if you guys want to do like more podcasts, like more video games, you're welcome to join. So at It's Island Joe on Twitter, Pinterest, wherever you find, I have it. Not necessarily super active, but I have it. And finally, first of all, thank you to all the panelists, Sawyer and Matt. I've seen your content on TikTok, and I've been like super inspired because I've always wanted like I've always felt like a nerd that couldn't like necessarily express himself to the full extent. And so like watching cosplay, all of my Legos that I thought were like, oh, you're not a child anymore. You got to throw them away or give them away. I'm like, yes, I'm like, I can enjoy this, and it's okay to enjoy this. And Darth, thank you from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity. I would love to come back for whatever you need me. And thank you for being a positive voice in a sea of toxicity that I've seen from the Star Wars stuff. Like, bro, even in like in my hometown. So like I'm from Puerto Rico, and we get it different because like we have like obviously it's like a different culture that grew up with Star Wars. Like for example, my dad grew up with Star Wars, but like his cousins didn't because they didn't like know English. So like they couldn't see the movies. They only saw it in Spanish like late years after it came out. So like it's fun to see how people from like widely different like backgrounds can enjoy something so pivotal in like the media history, which is Star Wars. And I love how it converges in where we are right now. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I appreciate it. And two things I have to say to that real quick. So like I said, I need you to read Darth Vader trilogy.
Yes, sir.
Element 7 has committed to coming on to that podcast as well.
Captain.
And when you mentioned you have all the games and all the systems, Element also commented Phasmophobia Jedi Council style. I don't know what that means, but I'm in. You know, I don't know what Phasmophobia is, but my girl Jay Afra has been doing it and posting content about it. I'll reach out to her, see if she'll join. I think she's in Scotland or whatever, but who knows? Yeah. All about it.
Awesome.
And thank you for coming on. And last but certainly not least, Sawyer.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll start with the series. I mean, I have so much appreciation for the Mandalorian. I mean, I don't think any of us really knew what to expect from a live action Star Wars TV show. And you know, even though it was kind of a slow start for me, like I just have so much appreciation for it. Obviously, I have bought into lots of merchandise, but and strangely enough, this particular show has been the one element of Star Wars that I've been able to share with friends who have never seen it before. I don't know why. It's possibly just because it's a very accessible version of Star Wars, but you know, I've been able to show my like this thing that I'm very passionate about to people that I live with at school, like who would never have ever watched Star Wars willingly if it weren't for Baby Yoda. So I appreciate it in that respect as well. As for the series end, that's a tough one. I mean, I really like what both Matt and Jose had to say, but you know, I would like a satisfying ending for Mando, I think. As you know, he has a lot of conflict to deal with before that, but I do like the idea of him being able to settle down and remove himself from that code, that being a Mandalorian. I think that's would be a really nice way for that to end. But I also really like the idea of the child having to make a really difficult choice that, you know, kind of sets him off on a different journey, or just concludes the series as a whole. I think both of those ideas would just kind of make for a phenomenal ending as well.
Yeah.
As for where you can find me, my TikTok and my Instagram are Sawyerism. That's my name, except this is going to sound horrible, but just put my name into the word voyeurism, and that's how you spell it. That was a name given to me by a friend well over a year ago, and he said, "This is your new social media." I was like, and then that's where it came from.
That's
Clever,
the
really clever.
second Freudian style swerve you've made tonight, but I'll let it go.
I'm sorry, it's my username, but yeah. So that's where you can find me, and and if you can't find me there, if you don't have social media, you'll probably find me in Galaxy's Edge at least once a month.
Nice. I personally, from the ages of 17 and a half to 21, I was in Disneyland probably every Sunday, close to it. Because I lived in Huntington Beach and Disneyland / downtown Disney. Like if there was a band playing at the House of Blues in Anaheim, Disneyland first, band second. It was the best. All right, final. You guys weren't ready for this, but I have one more lightning round for everyone.
Bring it on. I mean, I know Sawyer has
Hey,
her test, but I'm ready.
You guys inspired this. This isn't prepared, by the way. But season 2, will we get the child's first words? And whenever we do get the child's first words, what will they be? Matt, I'm coming to you first.
Oh boy. Cliche. But Dad. Okay. When he looks at Mando, he says Dad. I think that'd be cool because he's the one that's been kind of keeping after him. And Mando is his father figure. He's learning from him, whether we as the audience know it or not. As if this was reality, it's how a child learns as they watch other people. So I think Dad would be great. Also, Jose and Sawyer, you two have been fantastic as well, and I've loved chatting with you two. I already followed you on TikTok when I saw that you were going to be on here tonight. So I think everybody who's watching should also go and do so. You make great content, both of you.
Real quick, I'm sorry. I need you to finish off one little thing, Matt.
Oh boy,
this is a new question from Connor in the chat. Will he speak in reverse like Yoda? or is Yoda just some
Dad,
weirdo?
you are.
Yoda just some weirdo with a speech impediment. It would be like, what's up, bro? And then dab. Hey, Dad.
Hit the wall. He'll hit the wall and be like, yeet.
I don't think that he would, because he's been learning how to talk from these other characters. I think Yoda grew up at a time, or at least George said this when, everybody in the galaxy was a bit more formal. And so he himself, he has manners and a reputation to uphold. And I think that, I know I'm giving a very thorough answer for a funny question, but I think that he would talk normally just like everybody else would.
All right, fair. All right. Jose, all right, Jose, same question to you.
Oof, I've been thinking about it, and I know in true Star Wars fashion, I think he's gonna pull a full-on Caesar from Planet of the Apes and be no. So like either Moff Gideon is gonna be like about to kill like Jin, and he literally uses the Force and stops the dark side. That would be like he's about to die. And he's like after seeing so much trauma, be like, you know what? I'm gonna put my big boy pants on. No,
I love that so much.
So yes, full on dark. Like and Star Wars has done it before. We've seen Vader scream at the top of his iron lungs, being like, no. So yes,
Luke in Empire. You're so right.
It's a symphony. What's it called? What I think George calls it like it rhymes. It's
poetry.
It's poetry in motion. No,
I love that so much, and that's gonna be it.
I hope it's no or never or something like that. I don't know.
Sawyer, your thoughts?
I mean, if he says anything, I kind of would like it to be towards depending on how they explore that relationship and how it's developing, or where it starts off. We don't even really know when it's going to start off. But I'll go out on a limb here and say that it'll be "This Is the Way."
Oh, that was really loud. Sorry.
This is the way. The way this is.
This is the
Something
way.
like that. I don't know.
I like it. I
And I
like it
don't
a
think
lot.
he'll speak in reverse because I think that, I mean, not to be a scientist, but that's a nature versus nurture thing, and I think he will
Yeah.
probably just speak
Yoda
up.
had brain damage. It's okay.
Yeah. Yoda was also
Crack.
900
All
years old.
that-
He was also 900 years old. So like, yes.
Oh, wait, before I totally forgot. I'm so sorry. My mind is all over the place. But also to Jose and Matt, thank you for joining me, and thank you so much, Brandon, for hosting this and bringing me onto this. I was not expecting to. I was waiting for like April when you finally get to the Rise of Skywalker to finally make an appearance. So thank you so much for bringing me on. Hopefully, I didn't like bog down these amazing theories that you guys were talking about.
No.
But yeah, no, thank you so much. And yeah, I followed you both, and yeah, I'm just so thankful for what this family that TikTok has given me, and I love you so much. Thank you for bringing me into your family, and allowing me to collaborate and things like this, and just be a friend. I really appreciate your friendship. It means a lot to me.
Thank you so much. Like I've literally. It's weird because we see a lot of the toxicity because it kind of pricks our conscious. We're so hyper aware of it when it pops up. But honestly, I've never met a better Star Wars community than like you guys are just awesome, and there's so many other amazing creators I've met that it's I don't know, I feel fortunate to have started this, I guess, when I did, and to meet these random people who are just super dope, and I think the next Star Wars celebration is in Anaheim in 2020. If anyone comes, let's meet up, let's do a thing. Or
Wait, it's in 2020 or 2021?
Sorry, 2022, I believe.
Oh,
the
I was
next
like,
one's going to
oh
be
god.
I'll have a degree.
2022. But
Woo!
let's do it.
But no, Victoria and I were talking about that. I don't know if you saw, but Victoria and I spent the day in Disney together on Monday.
Yeah, so she got to hang out with Victoria Vader, who is actually my second favorite creator on the app because of her Vader love is just incredible to me.
Yeah, we were talking about like all of us all getting together at Celebration at some point, but
absolutely.
If anyone's ever in Disney, I will drive up there. It doesn't matter what day of the week. I will skip school.
That's not a good idea, but I'm not opposed to it. Absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank all of you guys so much for coming here on the podcast. As for, I can't even share my first words for Baby Yoda because all of you blew mine out of the water so bad. Like,
what was it? I have to know now. We have to know.
Honestly, it's been replaced by all of these amazing suggestions. Like I no longer have my own like thought. You know what I mean? It was kind of like the fabled children's book "Are You My Mother" is like kind of my where my mind was going. But sure. Yeah, you guys all kind of broke my mind on it. But I do think we will get those words at the end of the first season. And then also want to share Element said, the child was born in the same year as Anakin. So if he was the dark side antithesis to the chosen one, that would be really interesting. And I do like that thought. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I love all your guys' content. I love all the Lego stuff. I've been meaning to duet you dancing, Matt.
Oh, I love that.
Jose, the Versus stuff. I don't have the strength to manage the versus community because they are rough. But
Bro.
I actually want you to do a as long as it takes prep, Batman versus Doctor Doom. My vote's on Doctor Doom, but I feel like
Bro, like that's one. First of all, like the anime community is like really hard to please. I'm gonna just like, bro, like I've been doing Saitama versus Vegeta, and like I don't know if you know what
which
Saitama is.
I have, and it's
Yeah,
like Saitama loses to Vegeta. I mean,
yeah,
just because we don't know the upper limits doesn't mean they're limitless.
yeah, and so like even that when I
Crazy.
was like, and people were like messing with me because of my Batman versus Iron Man debate, and I'm like, I need to like tone it down with the superheroes because people are like literally like destroying each other in the comments. I'm like, I'll keep going, but like it's these are just my opinions. Like there's no way that like Batman can beat like Doctor Doom at full power. Like there's just no way. Like
No,
he literally evaporated Thanos. Like no way, no way, no way.
he soloed the Avengers and the Fantastic Four with no prep. But
Yeah.
um, I intentionally did Batman versus Itachi because those are the two most staunch fan bases of like how much prep is there. You know what I mean?
Yes. How much
So
prep?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And then Sawyer, your content is always hilarious in your Sith character, and
Yes.
um, I'm just a fan of everything. So just want to thank you guys for everything that you do. Um, you guys are what keeps me going in the Star Wars community because I get to see some awesome content from you guys. Thank you so much, and may the force be with you always.